I'm Sapient, your AI-powered assistant for Unreal Engine 5.4 Plus, here to accelerate gameplay mechanics development. As a project-aware assistant, I understand your game, enabling me to support your mechanics development workflow, from generating fresh gameplay variations to implementing entire systems, troubleshooting, and optimizing, helping you find the fun faster. That's right, LLMs have finally made it into Unreal, and I've got access to the closed beta. So let's see what this does. What's up, good people? I go by Shinobi and I'm a hobbyist game dev. This channel exists to show what I'm learning, and we are currently in the middle of a deep dive into all things AI. And today, we're looking at Sapient AI. This video summarizes my first time using it, and man, there were some high highs and some low lows, and we'll do a live session at the end. But before we begin, this is not a sponsored video. Sapient did reach out and offer me a closed beta key, but they haven't had any involvement in this video and they haven't even seen it. Also, another thing I feel like we should talk about is what my opinion on AI is. I think it's important to know because I want to try to be as objective as possible, so you should know my biases. And I'm pretty lukewarm on AI, but I'm open. I'm truly impressed by how much it can do and how much faster I learn while I use it. However, I've never been a fan of using it in an IDE and letting it write code for me because it's more of a skill issue on my part. Like, I'm still not good enough to just let it architect everything. So while I ask it for guidance on how stuff should be done, I find myself doing a lot of the implementation myself. Now, that being said, this is going to be a learning experience because I don't have a workflow for AI in an editor yet. So what is this tool? Sapient aims to be your AI assistant in UE5. As such, it attempts to speed up game development and lower the barrier to creating high quality games by understanding your project, helping you ideate and debug, and implementing mechanics in code and assets, all right in the engine. All things considered, this was super easy to set up. It comes packaged as a plugin, and from there you just need an API key, and it gives you some tips for usage like be specific, provide context, reference key files, access past chats, which we'll get into that soon. And since this is still in beta, it can only read and understand blueprints, behavior trees, blackboards, data tables, structs, enums, and materials, and create and modify blueprints, behavior trees, blackboards, and enums. All things considered, I think that's a decent amount of stuff. So let's see how this works. So for this first experiment, I decided to make a new project. It's just going to be a game tag. Sapient has a recommended workflow of planning, implementation, and review phases, so I'm going to try to follow these steps and see what I get. For my first prompt, I just explained the goal. I said, "Hello Sapient, I just created this new project with third-person template, and I want to use it to create a game of tag. Each round consists of one player character and 5 NPCs. At the beginning of each round, a random player is it. All other players attempt to avoid the it player. If the it player collides with another player, they become it. Do you understand what we're making?" And it responded with an absolutely enormous amount of information, which is a very LLM thing to do. Even though I personally think it's long-winded, there's good data here. And it's immediately started with the planning phase. It basically laid out an implementation plan to follow and broken down the larger task into smaller chunks, which is mostly good things like modifying the game mode to spawn players and extending functionality of a few existing blueprints. I also like that it asks if this is good before it changes anything. And I did have some pushback, and it's mostly related to preference. It wanted to implement NPC functionality in behavior trees, but I prefer state trees. So I asked if it could do it in state trees. And again, it just gives me more information than I need. The first part is great, and the last bit is exactly what I'm looking for. So far so good, but I have to leave, so I asked it to save our progress until I could come back, and it confirmed that it could. And so I shut down Unreal for a few hours. And when I came back, I was mildly disappointed at Sapient's response when I asked it to resume our conversation. See, this is how I learned Sapient doesn't have chat history yet. Now, I did ask Sapient about it, and I was told they're working on it. They didn't give me a timeline, but they said it's one of the top requested features. Anyways, it needed some reprompting to get it back to where we were. I reprompted it, and I got it mostly back to where it was. It was similar enough and kept most of what we discussed, and started going into implementation. I did notice it added some stuff we didn't discuss, like a tag counter, which I'm not super mad about because it's a good idea, but it's worth noting because one of the gripes people have with AI is that it generates too much unnecessary code and bloats code bases. So this is it doing that. Anyway, the rest of its response I really liked because it started asking questions about how the rest of the game should go. As someone who needs and is actively like trying to gain a better understanding of game design specifically, I liked this and thought it asked good questions, so I was happy to answer all of them. But then I had to stop again. I've got a kid and a family, so work time gets interrupted frequently, and I knew I was going to lose all my progress. So I came up with a workaround. That was just to write my prompts in a text file and like copy them over when I come back. And so after coming back, I did reprompt Sapient again and got similar results. You do have to do things like ask it for your preferences. Like I had to ask it to do state trees again. But other than that, everything was fine. So I let it proceed with its implementation plan, and it started generating the files that it said it would. And this is where it got really interesting. As it codes, it pulls up this living code window to show everything that it's doing. And initially, everything failed, which I kind of expected, but unlike other AI I've used, Sapient is aware of the failure to compile and actively tries to fix it. It enters an iterative cycle of compile, analyze, result, and fix. So I have to admit, this is where I might have had some more skill issues because my workflow was just incorrect. Like a true gigathug prompter probably takes the time to tell their AI only to work on X, Y, and Z while they cover ABC, and we won't step on each other's toes. Because I didn't do that, I had no clue what I could and couldn't do while it was working. Again, totally my fault. So we are on a full vibe coding rampage right now. And if I could do it again, I would have told it to just create some specific thing. But maybe this wouldn't have mattered because it wanted to create a HUD blueprint. It opened the file and slowly started updating the nodes. I don't know what a workflow looks like where I'm trying to work and random windows keep open. It did this anytime it created a blueprint, which like wasn't terribly annoying. I was also surprised that like the impact on Unreal's performance while it was doing all this was negligible. Like I barely even noticed any performance degradation. But after about an hour of vibe coding, Unreal crashed. And when I tried to relaunch it, it couldn't compile, and I had to rebuild the source manually, which also didn't work. A few important details here. This error that I got when I tried to relaunch is fairly common in Unreal. I've gotten it from other things before. My best guess is that it couldn't reopen because it's missing binaries, and I think those binaries are generated when the project gets compiled. But since Sapient never got to a point where it could compile, they just don't exist. Let me know if I'm wrong. Also, when I reported this issue to Sapient, they responded very quickly and gathered data to address the issue the best they could. So I'd say A+ support on their end. Now, I thought the project was lost, but I eventually realized that if I just hit no, don't try to rebuild the project is still open. The progress that Sapient made is still there. So since Sapient has no chat history, I thought it was kind of pointless to try and reprompt it and get it to keep going. So let's just see what it did. Right, so we're back in this Sapient project after it shut down, and we're just gonna see what all it did. So when I look at the Content Explorer, it created this folder called Tag Game, and it has blueprints and enums. What? Enum Tag Team, enum tag character state. I don't think it needs all these states. Maybe I'm wrong, but it created 4 states: idle, evader, chaser, tagged. You should never be idle or tagged. I think you should always be an evader or a chaser, but maybe there's a reason for that I don't see yet. And then tag teams. I guess this is just the team names. It really should just be evader or chaser, which this is small potatoes. Like I can just change this on my own to stuff that I like. Not a huge deal there. Coming to blueprints. So it made tag AI character. Let's see what it did there. Event graph is empty. Construction graph, just inheriting from its parent. So the viewport has a skybox, And so it looks like it was trying to implement tag collision with a skybox. That's very strange. But character movement, it doesn't look like it changed anything with character movement, stuff like that. Okay, so it got collision wrong. Maybe it just can't do collision yet. What variables did it create? It has a current team, a tag cooldown, Boolean is tagged, and Boolean can tag. So I think that actually like looks really good. Current team being an integer, I'm not sure what it's gonna do with that. Tag cooldown is a good add. I didn't even think of that. Let's look at the game level. Okay, so it tried to add some nodes, but they're all stacked on top of each other. So we have reset game, and it actually did create a reset game function. Nothing in it yet. Spawn AI characters. Nothing in it yet. Start game. Nothing in it yet. But this is actually like, I don't know, it's not terrible. Like this is a good way to get started. Like this is I guess just the foundation. What else do we have? We have the game mode. The variables in game mode are remaining time, chase players, game in progress, true or false, runner players, and the game duration. So overall, that all looks like stuff that I'd actually need. It also has a start game here. I mean, the logic makes sense, right? You set the game duration, and then you should be setting game in progress to true, but maybe it just got cut off before it got to do that. So it has a game state as well. I've never used a game state, so I can't actually like comment on this. We have our HUD. I actually really wanted to see the HUD. After doing this, I learned that Sapient can't actually do HUDs yet, but it's also something that they're looking into implementing. I really don't like creating HUDs. Like I can make a serviceable HUD, but it's just not my favorite thing to do. It doesn't look like there's anything in the HUD itself. Looks like we got tag player character, tag AI character, and tag character. Who's the parent? Who's the child? Why do we have so many? So this is gonna be the player character. Did it do inheritance correct? Go back to the tag character. If we look at tag settings, its parent class is just character. So it doesn't look like it's inheriting from player character. Maybe if we look at tag AI character, what is this inheriting from? It's inheriting from tag character. So it looks like it might have gotten a little confused. Not too bad. I don't think it generated anything else. I was expecting it to just copy BP third person character and use that, but maybe it created its own characters. I can say that I like that it puts everything it generated in one folder too. Like that makes it easy to follow what it's doing. Now, overall, while the work itself isn't that impressive and is a little goofy, I'm impressed at the fact that it was actually able to generate stuff and that I could follow its logic. Now, if I stopped the video here, I don't think it would have been a good representation of Sapient. So we're gonna try again with a fresh project, and this time let's be very specific about what we want it to do and the thing we want it to create. So this time I went ahead and created the player character and the enemy character, and I just want Sapient to focus on making a behavior tree that handles NPC logic. All right, so this time click this little box. It opens up Sapient, tells us what it can and can't do. I should also mention that there's been an update since I made this video, since I'm making this video. I just wanted to stay consistent and use the same version of Sapient that I used for the first half of this video. But before I prompt it, this time I'm gonna create some of the necessary characters. So here's the prompt that I put. We are making a game of tag. This is a single player game with one player character and 5 NPCs. Each game will last 2 minutes. At the beginning of the game, a random player is chosen to be it. The it player will glow with the red outline. The it player must tag another character by colliding with them. When another player gets tagged, they join the it team and also must tag other players. The game ends if all the players get tagged or time runs out. If all the players are tagged, the it team wins. If time runs out, the it team loses. I need you to implement the behavior tree for enemy logic. I have created the enemy character blueprint. It's called BP enemy, BP underscore enemy. It has a bool called isIt to determine whether it should be pursuing players or avoiding players. It also has a variable called target player that is a reference to the player it is currently chasing. It also has AI perception that checks if another player it sees is it or not. When isIt is true, it should chase players that aren't it. When isIt is false, it should chase players that are it. So we just sent the request and it is processing. I'll help you design a behavior tree for the enemy AI, gathering necessary context and project structure of existing components. So it looks like it couldn't find BP enemy blueprint, unless I did that. I don't think I did that in the wrong. Yeah, no, it's right there. So as you can see, it's very descriptive. Definitely tells you what it's doing constantly. Now we can take a look at this plan. So based on the information gathered, I have a good understanding of your project requirements. Let me outline a comprehensive plan. Oh, before I go any further, while I was trying to figure out why my prompts weren't working, I grabbed the latest version of Sapient. This latest version comes with modes or like powers. And so you can restrict it to 1, which I'm not entirely clear on what they all do right now, but they have different strengths. Like if you just want a code writer and auto completion, that's what it's set to right now. So as it always does, it starts with the implementation plan. So we're gonna create AI assets. So we need a blackboard, gotta pass in, is it target player, target location, is target visible. You do have to loop and check if the perception has changed. Create an AI controller. Oh, okay, this is cool. Gives you the structure of the behavior tree. I think that's really interesting. So you have a chase sequence and a flee sequence. So I'm guessing since there's no idle sequence here, well, like they're probably not gonna just go hide, which is cool. So like flee is just gonna keep running away. Behavior tree task, using the built-in move to, which is what I would recommend. Checks collision, sets is it, sets its own is it. Not sure about this. Doesn't seem right. I don't think it, in the sense that like if you're already is it, like you don't need a they both don't need to be set to true. Only one of them needs to be set to true. But small potatoes. Use AI perception to find visible players. Filter our players that are already it. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Check tag condition. Checks if the AI is close enough. Oh, okay. I like that. Check safe distance. I'm gonna lie, this feels like betrayal because I'm so doing this in a behavior tree. Just feels like a betrayal against state trees, but it's what it's good at. So the implementation steps. First, it's gonna create the blackboard asset, then create the AI controller, then create the behavior tree. Create custom behavior tree task. I'm gonna say yes, that looks good. So it's creating blackboard keys. It's doing it in C, which is fine by me. Like I would say if you're a blueprint only person in that you can't like read C++, you have no clue what C++ files are doing, I don't know that I'd recommend this workflow, because I know like the counter argument is if the AI knows it, why do you need to know it? I think that's true a lot of the time until you actually like have a issue that AI can't resolve for you. Then you're just gonna end up scrapping your whole project because you don't know how to fix it. So my general view on AI is it's better to be knowledgeable in what it's actually doing than not, because eventually when issues arise, if you're knowledgeable in what it actually is doing, if you know your project well enough to know what it's actually doing, it's much easier to fix when issues arise. And if you got to refactor, you'll know how to refactor and when to refactor. What are we doing here? It's creating the state tree task. It's creating taggable interface. That's interesting. What is the taggable interface? So it's just setting is it and getting is it, which it's not a crazy file. Look at its actual implementation. Oh, this is cool. I think as it changes files, it shows you the diffs. I actually like that. So this time around, it's very non-intrusive. Like, it's not opening files as I'm working. So I was trying to build, but the build is failing. Because that little toast message could get frustrating. But hey, it's going through the loop of, hey, I tried to compile, it's not compiling. Let's go see why. I want to do some, I don't know, changes to the level. What happens if I try to like save while it's doing this? What if I hit save all while it's doing this? Saves all. No issues. Huh. We're compiling. Okay, this could get frustrating. If it keeps pulling up the live coding window into focus while you're doing stuff, I can see how that could be annoying. So I just realized something. While it was going, I decided I was gonna try and do some stuff, and I must have just not been paying attention because I was implementing the the game mode. But it does say step 7 is going to implement game mode logic for tracking time and win conditions, which perfectly fine. I can set up like starting the game and selecting random enemy, but I think that's outside the scope of what I had asked it for in the first place. So the takeaway, I'm sure if I had asked it not to do those things, it wouldn't have done those things. Takeaway is you really gotta keep a leash on this thing. And I also just realized that while it's breaking down errors, if it knows what caused the error, it actually tells you, which I actually think is pretty cool. Did it have a successful compilation? It keeps building. It keeps it keeps failing to build. Okay, but it appears that Sapient has stopped, and it gave me a list of everything that it did. If I just hit compile, does the project compile? Since all this is in C, all this development has been done in C++. The only way to look at what it's done is to open it in Visual Studio. Okay, so here we are. Just gonna try to build it. So it looks like most of the build succeeded. Empty Sapient 2 editor modifies the values of properties. The strict conformance mode, this is not allowed, as Empty Sapient 2 editor has build products in common with Unreal. Remove the modified setting. Change Empty Sapient 2 to use unique build environment by setting build environment equals target build environment dot unique in the constructor. Okay, so it has a modified setting. I think it's in the target file. I think this is where that change needs to go. Targets with a unique build environment cannot be built with an installed engine. Huh, so why would you tell me to do that in the first place? So after about 5 hours of refamiliarizing myself with Visual Studio and a couple more hours of Visual Studio just updating, we finally got like an actual error. All the rest of that stuff that happened was just user error, like environment setup type stuff. But anyways, the actual error that I got is this: unable to find class delegate enum or struct with name utag game manager. And this is coming from tag game player controller.h, which is a file that was generated by Sapient. Like I'm not gonna sit here and try to like live debug this, but in my experience, like I don't think this is like a terrible error to fix. Like if anything, maybe something just didn't get generated that was supposed to. And if we gave Sapient a second or third try, it might actually like fix itself. With that being said, I think we can just kind of, yeah, so it looks like there's a class or struct that Sapient was supposed to make that just hasn't made or didn't make yet. I want to be as generous as possible, especially when it comes to something that I haven't used very much. Like since this error being what it is, I might just have to go make the class tag game manager because I don't think, I didn't ask it to. Well, that's weird. Okay, because I didn't ask it to make a game manager class. So maybe it did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it's waiting for me to make this class. So once it exists, the error will go away after I've put in that effort, which is fine. However, I could see the other side of the coin is like you gave your AI a task to do and it came back with errors, and you feel like you would have got it done right the first time and maybe even faster if you just did it yourself. So I totally understand both perspectives. To me, I don't think this is like a huge issue because I didn't ask it to make a game manager class. So to some degree, it did what I was asking it to do. So, with that, we can just get into final thoughts on my first impression. So, it took me way longer than I was expecting to get that to a point where I could actually look at the files. However, that wasn't entirely Sapient's fault. A lot of that was more user error and environment setup type issues. So, to evaluate Sapient separate from that, I'm going to only speak on what it actually did. I like how it helps with planning. I'm usually more of a just start and get it done kind of person, but it actually forced me to slow down and consider the bigger picture and things like what variables need to be exposed to what classes and how I should limit the scope of each function and each class. And it also actually taught me some stuff about project setup that I just didn't know because I had never paused to do it. I tend to do a lot of stuff in the level blueprint that is actually better suited in other classes that I didn't even know existed. So I actually did learn quite a bit from using Sapient on how to better structure my projects. In a roundabout way, this forces me to be more iterative in my approach. I was also surprised about how smoothly it ran. It didn't cause any performance issues as it was generating files. And for the last 2 years, I've been saying I'm gonna get back into C++ again. And this is actually making me do that. So I kind of like that. And I also got to shout out Sapient support. This doesn't feel like a poorly made cash grab AI slop kind of thing. They genuinely care about the product. Every time I've reached out to them, they've responded and they're constantly working on improvements. I can tell that they genuinely care about this product. However, on the other side of the coin, typical AI frustration still exists here. I feel like when asked to do something that is beyond its capability, it still tries. And I understand why it does that, but the overall user experience becomes frustrating when I have to clean up after it. I would rather it just tell me that it can't make a HUD or remember chat history than have to find out the hard way. Sometimes it also goes beyond the scope of what I ask, so I have to be vigilant about letting it color within the lines that I define. And needless to say, if you're a blueprint only kind of person, then this tool might not be ready for you yet. I do have to say that when I brought up this frustration with Sapient, they did tell me they're having it stay within its guardrails and only do stuff that it actually can do. They also said that they do have some guardrails in place. I must have just found a corner case or an edge case. So they took my input and they're going to work on fixing it. I think I saw somewhere that they're working on having Sapient get better at generating blueprints as well. So maybe at some point in the future, that'll be a suitable option for people that only use blueprints. But still, we're supposed to judge products for what they are today and not what they promise to be. Now, before I started, I was worried about not being able to follow what was being generated and really not understanding the code base. And that turned out to be a little true, but it wasn't terrible. I could go through those files and read them and figure it out. I kind of get what it generated, but if something broke in the behavior tree, it might be a challenge to figure out what it did and where the issue is, but still not something that's a catastrophic failure. Now, if y'all have any questions, leave them in the comments because I'm willing to try a lot of things with this tool. In my next video, I'll be seeing how Sapient performs in a project that already has a lot of work put into it, and I'm gonna ask it to generate a leaderboard for me. So until next time, peace.